Hi there, Malcolm here for my 296th Booktube video, and today I shall be bringing you my review for Aliens vs Predators Ultimate Prey. This is a short story collection edited by Jonathan Maberry and Brian Thomas Smith, and the fourth Aliens Predator collection. So with Aliens Bug Hunt, Predator If It Bleeds, Predator Eyes of the Demon, and now Aliens vs Predators Ultimate Prey. I've done individual videos for all of those, links down below. And for this one I've been filming almost vlog style my thoughts on each of the stories individually. So this one might be a slightly longer video because of it, but I felt that these stories would deserve their own attention. So the first story is Below Top Secret by Chris Ryle, where we have two idiots sneak into Area 51. One of them's got a contact inside. They make their way to the lift, or elevator. They go down into the secret underlayer. And guess what's loose down there? Yes, a xenomorph has got out of its holding pen and is running amok. And the only chance these two idiots and a scientist they bump into have is to release another alien species in another holding cell, a predator, and reunite it with a device. They don't know what's going to happen, but they're hedging their bets. It's going to be better than dying horribly. It was a right little story. The fact that the American government would keep something so secret in such a high-profile secret area is questionable. The fact the guy was able to buy the codes to get in was also questionable. Yeah, the realistic stuff was actually more far-fetched than the science fiction stuff, to be honest. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I think it suffers from not having much context. Things can be inferred, but how these two came to be at Area 51, was it local or they transported in from somewhere else? How long have they been there? Who's stupid enough to have a xenomorph on planet Earth? Have they not seen the show? I've not, but at least I know that's probably a bad thing. Yeah, worth reading. On to the second story. The next story is Isla Matanzas by Stephen L. Sears. Set a few hundred years ago. There's a Spaniard who's shipwrecked on an island, and he's pretty much surviving on his own until aliens and predators turned up, and they're having a big fight, and he's watching it all from the seclusion of his cave, which seems to be far enough away for no one to bother him. They're too focused on each other. And it's very clear that the predators aren't going to win this one when a ship turns up. You know, one of the ones on the water, not a spaceship. It's a British slave ship. The slavers are pretty much slaughtered straight away. However, the slaves happen to be the Minos, Amazonian-type women from Africa. Yeah, I absolutely love the story. Really, really clever. Bittersweet. Yeah, highly recommend that one. Then it's Homestead by Delilah S. Dawson. It was okay. I found it rather derivative of the original Aliens vs Predator book, either the graphic novel or the tie-in novel Prey, which is set on a frontier world. The predators turn up, see the aliens so they can hunt them, and the silly humans get in the way. This is frontier America, following a pregnant woman on her own as she finds out that her livestock are infected by this thing. Things exploding out of them. She goes to the neighbours. And, you know, it sort of unfolds in a very predictable pattern, really. And like I said, I think Aliens vs Predator has already done this. It's alright. I mean, it read well, and I was hoping for a twist or a turn that would take it down a different route, but it didn't really. Perfectly readable, and if you haven't already read Aliens vs Predator Prey, you'll probably enjoy this a lot more. And then The Hotel Mariposa by David Barnett. This was very different. I'm not sure if they're vloggers or something. These three people have their own sort of haunted places, TV series or web series. They've come to the Hotel Mariposa, which is supposedly haunted, to try and film some strange goings-on. Of course, there are strange goings-on, but they're not ghosts. However, there were some haunting aspects in there as well, sort of. They were explained by the end, which was a shame, I think. I think had they kept that slightly paranormal aspect in there as well, on top of having aliens and predators, that would have been really cool. But even with the explanation as to why the things that were happening, it's still a really unique premise to have for either aliens or predators, and it worked really well. Really enjoyed that one. Top marks. The next story is Planting and Harvest by Mira Grant, also known as Shauna Maguire. And this is the first one set in the future, on a space station, way in the remotest parts of human space. And it's a space station which is pretty much the realm of the last chance. For whatever reason, various undesirable people have found themselves onto this space station, and it's a hydroponics plant. They grow food. However, don't get too attached to these people, because a ship from another failed hydroponics plant docks. And yes, it's got xenomorphs on it. All but one of the inhabitants get wiped out. And we follow this final character who's managed to secure themselves in a strong room that conveniently have camera feeds and speakers to the rest of the station so they can see what's going on, particularly when a predator ship turns up and the warriors start battling the xenomorphs. However, these warriors turn out to be quite inexperienced, and our main character ends up guiding the predators up the corridors, warning them about where certain xenomorphs are hiding, that sort of thing. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. There's an interesting twist on the base under siege. You know, we've seen space stations with aliens running all over it before, and it started off pretty much run-of-the-mill. But having the a single person locked in a room, being able to see and talk out, but not actually be able to interact with anything else, felt very Asylum of the Daleks from Doctor Who with Souffle Girl. Okay, there's a slightly different twist to it, but it really did have that feel to it. And I like the fact that it's sort of built upon the Predator lore, that they are able to understand the human language. And when they talk through the intercom, the Predators are able to follow their guidance. Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, it felt very similar to other things, but it was different enough to be really interesting. Then it was Blood and Honour by Susanna L. Lambdin. This is a Marine waking up in a pod as it plummets to a planet, and at first they've got no idea what the hell's going on. We have a few flashbacks putting it into context, and upon this planet there are aliens and there are predators, which is not huge surprising, this is what the short stories are, and virtually nothing original happens in the entire story. I was very underwhelmed by this one. Not an awful lot happens for a good chunk of the story. We get the flashbacks, we get them sort of finding out where they are, what's going on, and then their memories return. There's an explanation as to the fuzzy memories as well. But then nothing really new happens that we haven't seen in other aliens things, Predator things, or Aliens versus Predator things. It was alright, it just wasn't terribly interesting. And the first disappointment. But again, it did continue with the lore of the Predators understanding human speech. I can't say too much about this one because it gives away an awful lot of the spoilers. And even saying this is Aliens versus Predator meets The Truman Show might be taking it too far even with that little ditty. Really interesting premise. Starts normally and you think this is all going according to plan, and then these soldiers turn up and then the alien things turn up, but things aren't quite right. And the main character, Blake, who owns or runs a diner, finds out that the world she lives in isn't quite what she thought. There's far more going on. Actually, there's a little bit of Cabin in the Woods here as well. The Truman Show meets the Cabin in the Woods, but Aliens versus Predator style. I really enjoyed the story. I loved how it unfolded. There's certainly a case of what's going on, and then as things become clear, it's a case of, oh, we're doing that. Fantastic. And I think it played out really nicely. Really good story. Then it was First Hunt by Brian Thomas Schmidt. This one, again, had a very similar feel to Aliens versus Predator Prey. We're on a planet, we're an outpost on a planet, and suddenly xenomorphs start turning up and predators start turning up, the two are fighting each other, and the poor humans are caught up in the middle. So very much that theme again, and like with that story, we do have the point of view of the humans and the point of view of one of the predators who's leading his students on their first hunt. And of course, you got the cocky one, you got the inexperienced one, you got the steadfast one. It was all right. I enjoyed how it flowed, but it wasn't particularly original. Didn't really do anything that we haven't seen before. And then it was Abuse Interrupted by Yvonne Navarro. This one's set on Earth, up in the mountains. A husband and wife have gone up there for a holiday. His idea, because it turns out that this woman is a victim of domestic abuse. He's gone off on his truck to go and do some fishing or hunting or something, and she's thinking about taking the keys that she's stolen earlier on and legging it, but wondering, were those keys a plant? Will he know? Is this part of his sadistic plan? So while she's contemplating legging it, the door bursts open and a xenomorph and a predator fall in, fighting each other, and the story sort of snowballs from there. I won't give away how the story turns out. The clue's sort of in the title, and yes, there is a satisfying ending to that one. Really enjoyed it. I thought it was a very different take on the genre. Next up is Better Luck to Borrow by Curtis C. Chen. This one is set on an alien planet. I'm following a class of children as on a school trip to the local science facility for a science fair. They've all got their projects down in the boat's hold. And we follow an orphan who's lost her parent and a hand in an industrial accident. She's horribly bullied as a result, and she's done something a little bit ill-advised in order to try and get herself some money so she can buy her way out of this dump. The result of which sees the barge be inundated by xenomorphs. Now, and this one's used that lore of the xenomorphs taking on the form of their hosts. And basically there are two main laws in terms of what the xenomorph is when it hatches. There's the standard, it always looks like that, with very little variation to it. Or they take on certain characteristics of their host. The xenomorph in Alien 3, for example, has certain dog-like qualities because that's what it came out of. And in Alien vs Predator Requiem, I know we don't talk about that one much, but there was a Predalien because it came out of a predator. And this one, they come out of a local species that look a little bit like the capybara, and so they're much smaller and have whiskers. I would say marginally less dangerous, but they're still xenomorphs. And the predators then turn up and things get a bit more interesting then on top of everything else. Yeah, really good. Another nice, unique take on the genre. It's nice seeing the xenomorphs taking on the form of the hosts. Yeah, really, really good. Next up is Film School by Roshni Bhatia. And in this one, the main protagonist has survived the events and are being interrogated by officials. She went as part of a camera crew to a quarantined planet, the site of a mining accident, to investigate what's really going on there. One of a number got footage of something else going on that suggests it wasn't a mining accident at all. So they've gone in to find proof. And of course, we know exactly what happened, and things clearly don't go well for them while they're down there. Now, obviously, the main character is being interrogated, so we know that she survives. There's also that adage of the cameraman never dies, which kind of is true in this case. I enjoyed how the story turned out. Obviously, the big mystery we knew, because it's going to be Aliens and Predators, because it says so in the title. You know, it's in the book. There's a collection of Aliens and Predator stories, so we know. And certainly we are getting to a point of repetition now where we have something funny going on, what's going on, and it was revealed that this, and of course then they take their mask off. Yes, they're very ugly. Rinse and repeat. It's not quite... Yeah, it is beginning to get repetitive by this point. But I still enjoyed it, and certainly having it as a tale of the survivor telling slightly different as well. But good story, good story. Next up is Night Doctors by Maurice Brodus. This is another planet where we follow a brother and sister who go to the doctors because he's developed a very suspicious cough. And of course we all know instantly what he's been infected with, don't we? And it's very much a history repeating itself, things never change type story in terms of these two characters are from the black community and the doctors are testing these people without their knowledge. Even in the future, this crap is clearly still going to continue. And so, naturally, it is a very angry story because this stuff shouldn't have happened in the first place. It shouldn't still be taking place now. And yet, the prediction is, in a couple of 100 years, on other planets, it's still going to happen. A great story, and if you're not angry by the end of it, then you should be. And then it's Skylar and Charybdis by E.C. Myers. And this one almost is a reverse of the original Alien film. We have a crew waking up in space. This time they're dead in space for reasons that we find out later. And a predator ship quickly docks and starts taking out the crew one by one. So like I say, it's the original Alien, but with a predator instead of the xenomorph. However, there's more to it than that I won't go into, but it's certainly developed into something completely different. And yeah, really enjoyed this one. Certainly didn't see the twist coming. I was just enjoying the alternate scenario, as it were. But then it did something else, which I felt was a real bonus. Great story. And again, one where, you know, predators are supposed to have this code of honour. They're supposed to do things in a certain way. You know, if you're unarmed, you're supposed to be safe from being killed by a predator. And yet this thing was going around with no qualms about anything whatsoever. And yet there are consequences for its actions, which I thought were great. Certainly some of the weaker predator stories I've read, they're going around doing the stuff and there doesn't seem to be any fallout for what they did. Good stuff. And next up is Another Mother by Scott Sigler. And this was a really clever setting because it felt like it was set on a sort of 16th, 17th century Earth. They got steam power, they got primitive weapons, they have fears of demons and all the rest of it. And certainly they view the xenomorphs as demons. There's been an infestation, they fought them and won at great cost. And they're now trying to hunt out the last of the nests to finally exterminate them for good. It turns out that we are on another planet in a future far enough ahead that the colonists have settled, and then, for a reason, they've been cut off from the main civilization of the human bubble, and they've regressed technologically and sociologically. So that is a really interesting setting, even without the other stuff going on. And of course then the predators turn up just to add an extra level of intrigue and what's going on here. Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. It felt very different to the others. Great stuff. And the final story is Kyodai by Jonathan Maberry and Louis Ozawa. And this one follows the brother of Hanzo from the film Predators as he wakes up falling to a jungle below. Yes, Unintentionally, unwittingly, he's followed in his brother's footsteps. He's the next batch to be taken and put on this planet of hunters as the next prey. I thought this was absolutely fantastic. I do like having tie-ins to the original stuff, and okay, we've done the old tired trope of having a brother of main of the main casts, and the only thing they changed to make it aliens and predators is, rather than the weird predator dog things that they had from the film Predators, they actually have xenomorphs with implants to try and keep them under control, barely, and Koyodai is able to capitulate on that potentially, as well as find out the fate of his brother, bringing him closure. Absolutely love this one. They're so good. Really interesting tale. So that's all the stories in this collection. For the most part, all cracking reads. There's a couple that just retreading old ground, really, not doing anything new. And there were a couple of times when I felt this was getting a little bit repetitive in certain scenarios. You know, the unmasking of the predator, all that sort of thing. It's like, we've done that before. But I suppose, you know, we're experiencing it through new eyes for the first time, and so it's their impressions of seeing these things for the first time. Great scope of characters, great scope of locations, time settings. You have male leads, male predators, female predators, capybaras, xenomorphs. Who had that one on their bingo card? And a great range of ethnicities and backgrounds as well. A brilliant collection. If you enjoy predator stories or aliens stories, you're going to enjoy most of these, if not all of them. Highly recommend this one. Booktastic. So there you go. Have you read Aliens vs Predators, Ultimate Prey, or any of the other collections? Like I say, they're all pretty good. The Bug Hunt one did get repetitive, but I do recommend them all if you like that sort of thing. What's your favourite setting of Aliens or Predators or both? Do you like the future? Do you like the past? Do you like them in inhospitable landscapes or on spaceships or space stations? What's the setting that works for you in this genre? Comments down below, please. But as usual, if you have nothing nice to say, then please keep it to yourself. Thank you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and other YouTubey things if you want. And until next time, see you later.